In today's show, we'll use the SharePoint HTTP action over in Flow to read and write a choices column in SharePoint. So the idea here is that we want to add dynamic values, but we don't want to just add them to the data. We actually want to make them a choice going forward. So it should be fun. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today, we're going to use the SharePoint HTTP action in Flow. And so the idea here is that last week we built a Power App where you could use the combo box's search text to let users provide their own search values inside of a choice fields, right? So we added a color that wasn't in the list via a little bit of, Power Apps shenanigans. And so this week what we want to do is we want to take that field, that color they added. So if they add chartreuse, whatever that is, then what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're actually going to go write that over to the SharePoint list. So the next person who wants to use chartreuse, I don't know, that greenish color, the next person will be able to actually use that and see it in the drop-down list. So it's going to require us to read the list and then get the data, work a little bit of variable, and then do it. So let's take it over to my desktop and take a look. Now, good old seeing is believing, so let's just do it real quick. So the first thing we want to do is we got Chewy selected here. We'll hit the edit, and he's staring at me like, why do you keep saying my name? And so then here you can see his favorite color is currently blue, and it goes down to green. If we clear out blue and we search for pink with a lowercase p, now I'm not going to do chartreuse because I can't spell it, but we are going to do the lowercase p for pink because that's another little bonus tip here, right? So let's hit save, and you'll see that now pink is here. It is with a capital P. And if we go over to SharePoint and then we do favorite color right here, we should see that pink just got added below green. Yay, with the capital P. Awesome. Now, one little nuance of this I've noticed, if you go up here and if we do an edit now and you hit the drop down, you'll see that pink is not in the drop down list yet. That's because it got added, but when it hasn't refreshed. So this is one of those cases where if you needed pink to be in the dropdown right this second, you would probably have to incorporate the refresh function. We all know that I hate the refresh function, right? It's not very friendly, but it's not going to show up, right? Because the choices, this uses the choices function to show the list. And so it doesn't know about the pink choice yet. If you were to edit another record, so let's go edit Jeff real quick, edit, right? So now pink is showing up because the refresh is finally triggered. So that would be the one nuance to this is if you need that value to show up, like when you're checking yourself later, go check to see if it's here. If it's here, then you know it's a refresh problem. And if you don't know why I don't like refresh, go watch the refresh video because I think that's important. All right. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the app. We're here to talk about the flow. So let's go over and look at the flow. So the idea of this flow is we're going to trigger it with Power Apps. We're going to send an HTTP request to SharePoint. And we're going to rebuild this, don't worry. But we're going to send a request to SharePoint to get the current results. So get all the colors. Then we're going to do a little fixing up, a little manipulating. And then we're going to post the data back over to SharePoint to add the value. So we're going to build this flow, right? Well, it kind of seems like fun. Maybe, I hope. So let's do it. So to do that, we're going to create. Leave my changes. I didn't make any changes, so we can leave those. We're going to do an instant cloud flow. Now remember, when you're learning this type of stuff, you're trying to figure out this stuff. Manually triggering a flow is so much easier than trying to incorporate Power Apps in the mix. So manually trigger a flow. You can change the trigger later, which we'll do at the very end. And so the very first thing we need to do is we need to go over here and we're going to search for SharePoint, and we're going to send an HTTP request to SharePoint. So this lets us use the SharePoint REST API. I know API is scary. It's okay. It's just a bunch of text. We're just going to copy and paste. It's no big deal. So we hit the drop down and we need to find the site where the list is. In my case, it is sites.pa. And for the first thing we need to do is get the list of results. We're going to do a get. And then here for the URI, we're going to put in, hang on, let me copy and paste it in. One sec. All right, we're going to paste in that. So _API web list get by title. So this is my list name, right? So the name of my list is employees. It's there. Notice that it's in single quotes. You're going to have to put it into single quotes. And then we're going to say field or fields with an S and then get by title. And then this is the name of the field, right? So, or the title of the field, I should say. And so notice here it is favorite space color, right? So I had a space in there just to make sure I understood the mechanics, what spaces would do. But because it's get by title and we're using the single quotes around it, we don't have to encode that or anything. But so there you go. There's the first piece of this. So we're going to grab this. We're going to say save. And then we're going to do a test. And then manually trigger it. And then test down here in the bottom. And then continue. And then run flow. Geez, old Pete's. I thought it was supposed to be less work, Shane. And then done. 4 clicks. Ah! But there you go. It runs just as fast as you can do it. And so now if we go here and expand this, you're going to see all the outputs. Now, if you haven't noticed here, the show raw outputs, this is a pretty nice little interface they're giving us a lot of times now. It's just a cleaned up view of kind of what's going on. And I know we're not developers, right? So we're like scared, but this is JSON, but it's just really a bunch of text, right? And so this is the header info. Don't care about that at all. So we'll scroll down. So then body, and then this D colon. I don't know why they have this D colon. I'm sure there's a technical explanation. I don't care. But then if you scroll down far enough, eventually you'll see results. And look, there is the table of our results, right? Red, blue, orange, purple, green, pink. Awesome. And it's part of the choices. So it's choices, results. I don't know. Lots of fun. Okay. So what I want you to do though is, now that you've kind of got this, is we're going to copy out this stuff. And what I want you to do is I want you to start copying from right here. So after the D colon, so not before. So I'm going to start copying there. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And I need to get right here to this last curly bracket after edit form. So you're leaving off 2 curly brackets, right? And it's really, you're leaving off the curly bracket that came with body, and you're leaving off the top curly bracket. So you're leaving 2 curly brackets off, but with all of that highlighted, we're going to say Control C, X out of there. Now we're going to edit our flow. So this step works. Yay us. So now we're going to do a new step here, and we're going to type in Parse Json. So Parse Json is a way to take all that fancy text and break it up into objects that you and me can more easily use. So parse it. And so first thing we're going to do is generate from sample. That's why we just copied that data. That's the data that we want. So we're going to copy that and we're going to paste it in here. All right. And say done. And if it comes back, it's now done a bunch of stuff about like the types of properties and the data. Is it required? There's a bunch of stuff in there. I'm not interested in learning. Now, for the content portion, though, we are going to have to try a little harder. So if we did body, right, that would have got it if we'd done more of the, if we'd copied over more of the stuff, but we don't want that. So what I want you to do is add body, click it once, see how it's kind of highlighted? Copy it, then get rid of it. And sorry, by copy, I mean Control C. So expressions, I want you to paste that in. Let's pull this over here. Go back to the front of the line, get rid of the @ sign in the curly, and then go to the end here, get rid of the trailing curly. And what we want to insert here is a question mark, square bracket, single quote, and then that darn D. Because that's what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, go get all the data that came after the D. That's what this is saying. And so that's why we only copied that portion. Because remember, this is set up for all the stuff only after the D, so we've got to get down to the D here, and unfortunately, there's not a dynamic way to do that. Say okay? Now remember, if you're like, Shane, this is awesome, but you're like killing me with all this, remember, if you sign up for our Power Apps 911 curated library over at the training.powerapps911.com, whatever that is, the curated library, you can just download this whole working app, right? And the working JSON, the working flows, all that. So, or if not, you can hit pause and copy the code. No big deal. Cool. Okay, so now that we've parsed it, close that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a compose. And so a compose, remember, this is like a label to me, or I mean, it's a label to everyone. But so with the compose here, now under here for your dynamic content, if you go to Parse JSON, you can kind of go through this and you should be able to see, oh, look, all of these different things are now in here. And if we search for results, we should be able to see what we were looking for. So let's try it. So we're going to say test. Now we can do automatic with a trigger ease, boom, boom, save and test. And so this will, a lot less clicking, but this should run just as fast. There you go. And so if we expand the compose, look at that. That compose, because we don't care about this, but the compose shows us that we can get the table of data that is the colors or is our values, because that's what we need, right? That is an array, or a table as I like to call it, but I guess array is probably a more technical term. That's an array of all of the pieces that we needed. Very fun. So now that we have that array, we need to add to it our new value. So we'll close that down. Let's go edit this. So there's that, there's that. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is we need to create an array variable. So we're going to say new step. We're going to search for variable. And we are going to initialize. Remember in Flow, you have to initialize variables. You have to declare them. So we're just going to call this var results. Why not? We'll set the type to array. And then for value, we're actually going to go ahead and set the value because we know that this is the initial value that we wanted, right? So if we go in here for initial value and search for results again, there you go. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that this compose was just for us to check ourselves. So if you feel good, you're getting the data back in results, you've seen it, you can just get rid of this, right? This is not redundant, but it's an extra step. All right, so simplify as we go. Okay, so this would put all the current values in there. Cool. Next up, we'll go right here. We'll go to variables again. We'll scroll back up. And so then now there is a append to array variable. So add a row. I like it. What array variable do we want? Var results. And then what value do we want to add? Well, let's just add teal. I don't know. I'm not very good at colors. So there you go. No, right? There's no quotes. There's no special formatting. You just literally add the word that you want to add into that table. Because in a minute, when we switch this over to be Power Apps, so this is the one piece of dynamic content you'll send from Power Apps over to Flow. And this is where we stuck in, pink. Okay. Looking good, looking good. So that gets all of these. Now, I would probably, just because I like to solve small problems, right? We've talked about this. I go to compose. And so then now I'm going to say, hey, you show me var results. We'll do a test, right? Once again, this is technically not necessary, but I feel better when I can see it, especially when I'm working with stuff that I'm not really comfortable with, right? Daniel LeMay really had to hold my hand with this. The first time we were on office hours, so I asked, he did it in like 2 minutes and showed them like, ta-da! And so it took me like hours to figure out how to do this as well as he did. So anyway, if we go down here, expand our compose here, look at that. So now we have this data in the variable. So now we have the right table in the variable that includes our teal value that we wanted. Now we got to get that into SharePoint. So let's edit the flow. Almost done, I promise. So let's do one more new step. We're going to do SharePoint again. Send an HTTP request to SharePoint again. And so site address will be our PA again. So the same one right there. Now this time, instead of our method get, remember up here we did a get because we wanted to get data. Now we want to add something in there. So when you go to add, there's different ways of doing it. Typically, I think of posting, but there is also the ability, you can go here and say, hey, instead of that, or no, actually we're going to use post, sorry. So we're going to use post, we're going to push data to the SharePoint API. What API are we going to use? We're going to use this one. So it's the exact same one we used above, right? Interestingly enough, with this API, if you call it and you get from it, it gives you data. But if you post to it, it accepts what you post. Now, one thing we need to do differently here is we're going to have to add some headers. So let me copy those. Hang on one sec. Okay, so the first one we want to add is, Flow just jumping where it wants, is this x-HTTP method. And then for the value, we're going to do a merge. And so the idea of this merge is this says, hey, I'm only going to provide you some of the data, just merge it with what's there. If you didn't use merge here, then what would happen is you'd have to provide everything. You'd have to provide the default again, the field values, the name, you'd have to provide a bunch of information that you don't want to change. You just want to add the one thing. So this merge is letting us do as little as we wanted. Okay, hang on, there's two more we got to add. All right, so the next one we have to add is we have to add an accept. And so you add accept, and then you put in on the right side, application/JSON, ; OData equals verbose. Cool. And then the last one is you have to enter a content type. So content type, and then that is the same exact stuff. I don't know, maybe one of those is redundant. Maybe you don't need both of them, but this is how it worked for me when I messed around. I tried to leave out these two. It didn't work without them. So I need at least one of them. Maybe I need both of them. I'm just rocking with both of them. So there you go. So add those in. They're just text again. Okay, almost done. The last thing we have to add is the body. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to the body section. We're going to paste in this. This is a double underline. This is 2 underline characters if you're having to type this in at home. But so underscore metadata, type SP.FieldChoice, choices, results. And so then right here is where the results go. Now, if you go over here to dynamic content and search for var results, it's not going to give it to you, right? Because it knows that var results is an array, and it's like, you don't want an array right now, but I do want an array. So there's 2 different ways to do this. The easiest one, or no, the more proper one, how about that? Let's go back over here to compose, click on, single click on var results, Control C, go right here and Control V, and then that would work. Now, the nice thing here is that var results has the formatting already in it, right? So it's exact format once, ta-da, it works. The other way that you could have done this, the way that I did it the first time, was I just said, you know what, my compose has got what I want. Power Apps or Power Automate is silly. I can just give it the compose. So this would have worked also if you're having a hard time copying this. But ideally, I think you're just putting it up, put it in the right spot though. You're getting var results to go right there. And if you hover over it, you can see it's just variables and then the variable name. But there you go. That all seems awesome. So what did we say? We told this to append teal. And so, yeah, let's try it. Let's say test, save and test. All right, your flow ran successfully. So let's just go over here to SharePoint. So pink was the last one. We'll do a refresh on this screen. Please be there. Please be there. Teal! Never been so happy to see teal in my life. I don't even know. Is it like a blue green? I don't even know what color teal is. I just know it's a color word. It's hard being me. I know. But there you go. So this does exactly what we want. So now what we're going to do, we can go over here. We're going to say, you know what? Let's get rid of this trigger. So delete this. We get a warning. No big deal. We will search for Power Apps. There it is. We'll just use this one. And then we'll go down here to append array variable. We'll get rid of teal. And we're going to say, hey, I want to scroll really far down and ask in Power Apps. So then now this has the ability for Power Apps to pass it over. And so whatever color we pass over should get added. So then now we'll go right here. We will change this to be video add choice. Looks great. We'll say save. Awesome possum. It says it's ready. We'll go over to Power Apps. And you know what, to make our lives real easy, we'll just go over here. Let's go to this screen real quick. We'll add a button, right? We want to add the flow. And so then now that we've got the button, we'd say, hey, button, actions, Power Automate. Hopefully it's at the very bottom. It is not. There it is, video add choice. Whoa. Sometimes finding these are really hard. I've got like 200. It's really difficult for me to find flows sometimes. Okay, now it's added. So we should just be able to pass in any color we want. So let's just go with Power Purple. I don't know. I'm a weird person. There you go. But so this should just take Power Purple and add it. So let's hold down the Alt key. Let's press our button. If we go back over to our flows, looks like that one ran that fast. Jeez, oh Pete's. And if we go back over here and refresh this, we have Power Purple. We have Power Purple. There you go. So now that we understand that that's all we have to do on our flow side, we'll just go up here and look at how I did this. So what I did is I did a couple of minor changes to the app. Remember, you can get this app also in the Curate library. You can watch last week's video, whatever you want. But so here on the save button, I'm doing 2 things. I said, hey, if is blank combo box favorite color selected. So if the selected color is not set and the search text is not blank, that means that they typed in something like teal, right? And so then what do? I ran the flow. Mine was called add a choice value to SharePoint. This is one I did before I started recording. And then I'm using the proper function to take whatever search text they have and put it capital, right? So that's where I typed in lowercase pink and it made it pink, uppercase pink. Proper was not required, just it made it look like all the other ones. I realized I kept messing it up. And so that's it. I just added my flow to run, to do a check, or sorry, I added a check when you hit the save button to see if we were in the scenario. If we're in the scenario, awesome. Run my flow to add it and then submit form like you did before, right? So no other changes in there. I guess the only other minor changes, if you go back over here into the update property here, I also added proper right here. So this is a slight change from last week's video. But there you go. So now you guys, we can add stuff. And remember, the whole point of this was to remind you that like the HTTP action in SharePoint sounds really scary. It can be. It's not ever scary. It's just different. But it lets us do things that we didn't think we could do before. So that's why we kind of keep, adding these in here and there, because I think there's a lot of fun to be had. If you have any questions, any comments, any of that stuff, leave it below. If you want us to build this, remember, Power Apps 911, this is what we do. We built these things for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers, so you can build yours too. Yeah, I guess with that, I'm just going to say thanks and have a great day. Before you go, be sure to click on the subscribe button over here so that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. If you need any help or you want to work together, whether your problem is big or small, check us out at Power Apps 911. We do it all. I rhymed. Or if you're looking for more formal training offerings, we have those linked up here somewhere. So check them out. Thanks and have a great day.